Episode 37?
37 or 36?
It's 37. We messed up last time. We said it was 35, but it was actually 36.
Alright, episode 37. Let's go.
Ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you?
It's time to flip a coin and find out.
Well, we need to know what we're calling it for here.
We're calling it to see who's got the best sports knowledge here on the coin flip with Martin Kelly
and Jacob Zimmerman.
Flip it again.
Ha! Heads!
Yes! Welcome back to the Coin Flip, episode 37. And I'm excited because, Martin, you had a pretty pleasant surprise for me. When I came to the studio, I was expecting to do what we had been doing the last couple of weeks, but no, I saw big fella to my left, Martin Kelly. You're back in studio. How's it going?
I am? What in the hell are you talking about? Oh, yeah, I am back in the studio. What's going on, everybody? It's the Coin Flip Podcast here. Let's get down to it. Jacob, what's that rundown?
All right, starting off with the NBA, we're going to react to that Mavs-Clippers series that took forever to finish. It went the distance to 7. Lots of storylines there. Then moving on for the NBA playoffs, the second round has already started underway, but we're going to give our predictions just a little late. And then rounding out the NBA segment, what is next for the Celtics? Then over to the NFL, Julio Jones got traded. I knew it was going to happen sometime during this offseason, and it finally went down. Where did he go? Then we'll talk about some darkhorse Super Bowl contenders. Then we'll head on over to other sports. We'll talk NHL, MLB, and even NASCAR. Then I have the rant. Martin, I'm talking about the Lakers, of course.
Of course. You're obsessed with them. We got to talk. You got to talk about them. We got to talk about them towards the end of this show. Big time news out of them. Let's get that NBA button in here first.
Three-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's good! Doncic wins the game at the buzzer! It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger? No! Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win it! They win it! 3 and 2. LeBron to win the game. He does! He does! The ball comes in. Cody's got it. Above the three-point line, taking a little bit of time. One dribble, pull up. For the win, he's got it! The Lakers win!
McKee gets it in the middle for the win. It's
With 2, Wade puts it up for the win. Yeah, baby!
Oh my, we are witnessing one of the great players to ever play in this league. And man, I hope it lasts for another 7, 8, 9 years, baby.
Just a long ass time. 7, 8, 9, 20. Listen, I'm a little, Jacob, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little jet lagged because I just got off the plane yesterday and I had to take a 2-hour bus ride back to town, and I haven't had a chance to get back to my apartment.
Did you fly into Vegas?
I flew into Vegas, and then I stayed overnight at my uncle's place, and then I woke up this morning and had no breakfast. I watched the first 3 episodes of The Last Dance, and then got a Lyft ride over to the airport, got on a bus, and got here at about 2:45, and I've been at the radio station ever since, so I'm exhausted.
Nice,
but
dude.
Nonetheless, man, let's jump into the NBA segment here first. Jacob, we got to talk about Mavs, Clippers. I said earlier in this series, Jacob, I call the Clippers frauds. I said they were done. I said they were going to get swept. They took it all the way to Game 7. Kawhi Leonard dropped 47 in Game 6, and he dropped over 30 in Game 7. Jacob, you and I will collaborate on this conversation at the same time, but really, just quick, what happened to the Mavericks and what happened to the Clippers to turn this damn series around? We got to think about it this way, and jump in at any time, but you got to think about it this way. From Game 1 and Game 2, Luka could not miss. They were shooting 50% basically from the three-point line. I don't even remember the Golden State Warriors doing that during their title runs, shooting anywhere near 50%. They probably were shooting near 40%, but to shoot damn near 50% in the first 2 games, and then all of a sudden the Clippers came out defensively in Dallas and shut down everything. And then all of a sudden, even in Game 5, Jacobs, I know I'm taking up the time here, but in Game 5, it felt like from 5 until 7, it was Clippers all the way. It just did not get done in Game 5 to where the Clippers can go shut it down in Game 6 and take it over. But from Game 5 until 7, I felt like the Clippers took over that series, and no matter what the Mavericks were going to do, there was no way they were going to win that series.
So the Clippers were down. They were down big, 2-0, even early into the ball game. They stormed back in that one in Game 3, and then came all the way back to win the series in 7. I think I originally picked Clippers in 7.
I think you did.
And then I think I might have switched my predictions somewhere in there, and then it ended up right back to where I thought. But as to the Mavericks' three-point shooting, they ended up regressing back to their mean. They weren't as good of an offense this year. The year before, they set the record for the best offense in regular season history. And then they got rid of Steph Curry's brother, Seth, and their offense just wasn't quite the same. Didn't have the three-point shooting, and they definitely missed him in this series. Guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Kleba, they all stepped up in those first couple of games. And as the series went on, it became more and more of just a Luka Doncic show. And that's the thing that everyone should be clamoring over. Not that the Clippers won, is that how good Luka Doncic is without any other All-Star. He took one of the best rosters in the NBA, probably the second best roster in the NBA, to 7 games. That is so impressive. That is one of those things that we're going to look back on in 20 years and see, like, wow, like, has any 22-year-old matched that sense of a series at that young of an age? I don't know.
It sounds like GOAT level to me. It sounds legit. It
really
like
does,
GOAT.
just like your shirt. It really does. But this series definitely proves that the Mavericks need a little bit more help. I've already seen headlines like, how the Mavericks have failed Luka Doncic. It's not over, guys. It's okay.
It's barely 4 seasons in the NBA.
There's tons of time for them to get better.
Let's talk about this after like his 11th season, and they haven't been to a conference finals or a championship. Let's
hold our horses.
Yeah, hold the horses just a little bit. Pun no intended.
Plenty of time. I think you can. There's 2 routes to go. You can take the route that you originally thought and have Porzingis develop into that second star. Obviously has not gotten out to a pretty good start. He was better last playoffs too, even more closer to his injury. I don't know what's happened to him. He's kind of just completely fell off as a shooter, and everyone's seen the memes. They're saying that he's a 7'3" Kyle Kuzma, or if he wasn't 7'3", he'd be working at Walmart at 9 to 5. Just some disrespectful jokes. But the Mavericks really do need new help. I don't know if it's trading for another star. That would be nice. Go and get a guy like Bradley Beal, perhaps.
Dame time.
Any pending free agency coming up, any big name guy has got to be looking at Dallas and say, wow.
Chris Paul?
See, I don't know his timeline fits, though. He's already in a good situation. I was really hoping Giannis would decide to pair up with Luka, but he ended up signing that extension.
That's true.
But there are going to be some guys coming up in the next few years, even Kawhi Leonard this offseason. Say, what would be crazy, Martin? The Clippers blow some sort of lead in the next round, and Kawhi enjoyed playing enough against Luka and realized that dude has it. We beat him. I'm going to go join him. And I think that would be a great duo.
I think so too. Maybe so. All we know is the Clippers are moving on to the second round. Speaking of second round here, let's do these second round predictions already. We're already in 2 games already with the Bucks and the Nets. They're at 1-1 apiece there. Real quick on that series, James Harden is questionable for Game 3 after, I believe he pulled his hamstring in Game 2. I believe that was what he pulled.
I think they've only played 1 game so far.
I think it was, you might be right about that.
Yeah, it's 1-0 for the Nets.
Okay.
James Harden hurt his hamstring like the first minute of the game.
Yeah, so there you go. I correct myself there. 1 game already. Let's say guessing game here, Jacob, 6 or 7, and who do you got?
I was feeling pretty confident about the Bucks before this series. Not that they would beat the Clippers, but that they would give, not the Clippers, the Nets, but they would give them hell of a run for their money, for sure. And I was thinking 7. Now it might not even look like that. I commented on, I think, Bleacher Report or something like that, and I said how the Nets could easily win the championship without James Harden playing another second of basketball for them. I mean, their team is not just top heavy like a lot of the super teams we've seen in the past decade. They have depth. They have Blake Griffin, Joe Harris, Nick Claxton. They have guys who are willing to scrap and they know their role. That's the most important thing. They know their role. So to answer your question, I'm going to go Nets. It's looking like Nets in 5 right now.
I'm taking Bucks in 7. I'm taking them all the way to
after
the
last game.
I want taking them Bucks in 7. I'll tell you why. The James Harden situation is going to hurt them real big, and I'm going to tell you where it hurts them real big is in their bench. We've had questions about this Brooklyn Nets bench all season. They have not shown up. The Brooklyn Nets bench is at the bottom of the league when it comes to points per game, assists per game, and rebounds per game. Because guess what? They don't play more than like 5 to 10 minutes a game. It's the big three playing damn near 42, 43 minutes every single game for the Brooklyn Nets. So how are you going to be able to be at the top of the league in bench points and assists and rebounding when you're not even playing the entire game?
I'm more scared of their starters. If their starters are playing that much more minutes, then that just goes to show how dangerous the team is.
But their bench will come back to bite them in the ass because someone's going to get in foul trouble and someone's not going to be able to step up. So I got the Bucks in 7. Okay, over to the Jazz and the Clippers. We just talked about the Clippers here, but what do the Jazz need to do to get back to to the conference final for the first time since 1998?
This series is so fun to talk about because me and you live in Utah.
Yes, we do.
We are friends with a lot of people not from Utah. So
and we work with people that are from Utah that are gigantic Jazz fans.
So I was on Devin's show the other day. I was producing. He was at the Long Drive, and he had me on to talk about the series coming up. We talked about the Clippers and the Jazz, and I quickly realized how big of a fan Devin Dixon is of the Jazz and how he's going to stick to that. He's confident. He's confident, man, that they're going to make the NBA Finals and give whoever it is from the East one hell of a series. But I think in this one, Jazz and Clippers, I got to stay with the Clippers. I think playoffs come down to star power. And Donovan Mitchell can go out there, and he might even average 35 this series. We
Possibly
saw
40.
Luka go off. I know Mitchell can go off.
If the Clippers defense is that lackluster in the first couple of games, Donovan Mitchell will probably average more than 40. He might average 45 in those first 2 games.
So there's a lot to think about in this series. I'm gonna go Clippers in 6. That is my prediction. But I would not be shocked if the Jazz started to pull some upsets. It is really funny to see the widely contrasting opinions. On one hand, you have Devin, the Jazz are gonna make the finals. You have our buddy James, who's just dying to see the Jazz get knocked out. It'll be funny to see what happens.
So I'm taking the Jazz in 6, and here's the biggest reason I'm taking them is 2 reasons. Is 1, Rudy Gobert, Bogdanovich, Joe Ingles, and Mike Conley all have to show up. They all have to be within at least double points, and Gobert better have damn near 20 rebounds because I do not see Nicholas Batum, and I do not see Zubats out rebounding Rudy Gobert if he's dominating down in the paint as he should. And I don't see any of the Clippers pick and roll getting out to where they want to do their pick and roll in their style of offense, having any success if Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell can play their pick and roll defense to where it has to be, including Mike Conley, who is one of the legendary gods of that pick and roll offense and pick and roll defense, the grit and the grind offense and defense he ran in the Memphis Grizzlies. So with all that being added to that, I'm taking Jazz in 6. I still think the Clippers have way too many issues when it comes to shooting and consistent defense. This series, to me, has to be about tough defense and consistent three-point shooting. These two teams lived and died by that all season long, and that's why the Jazz were so successful this year was consistent defense, consistent three-point shooting. They were damn near shooting what the Golden State Warriors were doing a couple years ago, and if you can do that, you're going to have a very long, deep run into the playoffs. All right, on to the Suns and the Nuggets. This one, to me, I feel like is going to be the best series of the playoffs besides the Hawks and the 76ers. We're going to talk about that in a second. But, Jacob, where are you going with this series?
Suns, Nuggets, Jamal Murray, his absence is huge. And I know we bring it up every time, and Denver's actually done a really good job of covering up for that loss. Michael Porter Jr. is going off. I think he's averaging in the playoffs. I think I saw today he's averaging 18 and 7 on 53-41 splits.
Hey, it just shows that Michael Porter Jr. is going to show up, and Mike Malone knows how to coach, man. He knows how to coach.
I want MPJ next year, even when Murray's back, to still get a lot of touches. His efficiency is one of the best we've ever seen from a player his age, and that I'm not even over-exaggerating on that.
And considering all the beef that he got last year after he calling out all of his teammates out and Charles Barkley and Shaq jumping on top of him saying, how dare you talk out of tone? You don't know shit.
Oh.
You don't know anything, and you now comes into this series and he's showing up in the playoffs.
That is true. I got Suns over the Nuggets just because of how good the Suns look. Devin Booker, Chris Paul, especially D-Book. I think D-Book has kind of taken that next step, and now he's on the verge of being in some people's top 15 to 10 list. He's
cracking that list.
He's cracked that list for sure.
That list. DeAndre Ayton has played tough too as well.
And he really has. He looked great against the hobbled Lakers. So I'm going to go Suns in 6 in this one.
I'm taking Suns in 6 as well. I love Jokic. I love Michael Porter Jr. I love the addition of Aaron Gordon. They've been showing up so far. That series between them and the Blazers was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun. That 55 game from Dame Lillard, that was so fun to watch.
The Blazers need to really change it up.
They do, and they will find the change. But I'm taking Suns in 6. We saw the consistency from the Suns. I mean, after taking the first game from the Lakers, they did not bow down to the Lakers after that, even though the Lakers tied up the series at 1-1. They did not bow down to them one bit. They were not scared of King James. They shoved all of that negativity right back into his face and said, get the hell out of Phoenix, man. So I'm taking Suns in 6. All right, already one game in the books after I don't know what the Atlanta Hawks were doing. I don't know what the Philadelphia 76ers were doing in the first half of Game 1 on Sunday, but the Atlanta Hawks escaped with a win, 128-124, as the Hawks almost blew that game in the fourth quarter in the last few seconds. Jacob, Hawks versus 76ers. Are the 76ers in trouble?
I'm going to say no. I am going to say that I'm going to bet that the Hawks don't shoot from 3 how they did in Game 1, the rest of the series. 20 for 47, that's 42.6%. They also shot 50% from the field and 95% from the free throw line, 20 of 21.
Hey, I know we keep bringing up the Warriors, but just ask the Warriors. If you shoot 23s in a game and make them, you're going to win a game and a series.
Yeah, and with efficiency like this, getting to the line, Trae Young, I think it's time we NBA fans admit Trae Young is better than we thought. I mean, he's not just a guy who flops around to get points. He's really not. I'm sad that NBA narratives are so hard to change sometimes for players. But Trae Young, I think at the beginning of his career is compared to the next Steph Curry, and that was probably not a fair comparison. But I think his numbers actually do compare, especially at the beginning of Trae Young's career. He's putting up better numbers than Curry did to start his career. But anyways, Joel Embiid came on really late in that game, and it showed. He was holding his knee on the sideline. I saw it during the game. The fact that he had 39 and 9,
he was sluggish in that
blocks.
He was sluggish in that first half. He was.
I mean, he kind of didn't show up. I thought this game was flat out over. I think the 76ers overall have a better team, and I'm banking on the Hawks not shooting as well. I'm going to go 76ers in 7.
I got Hawks in 7. I'm taking the Hawks. If they're that consistent from shooting, if Bogdanovich is that consistent from shooting, if Trae Young is that consistent from shooting, if John Collins is that consistent from shooting, if Horter,
won't happen.
If it happens, it happens. On top of that, I'm also banking on the fact that if they get Ben Simmons and Maxey in foul trouble, which they did in game 1 from the 76ers.
That is a great point.
If they get them in foul trouble, and if they get them in a situation where Joel Embiid has to really carry their offense, they're going to be in trouble. Seth Curry, I know he showed up later in that second half in game 1, but if Embiid and Curry do not show up in the first half, and if Simmons stays out of foul trouble, you got me. 76ers all the way. But if that order of problems shows up yet again, I do not see where Doc Rivers can get out coach, and just I do not see it. So, all right, that's all the second round predictions there. Real quick before we move on to the NFL here, 1 minute on this topic, Jacob. What do we do about the Boston Celtics? First round exit by the Brooklyn Nets. It was a 5-game series. Actually, no, I believe it was a 5-game series.
Yes.
5-game series. It was gentleman's sweep. Danny Ainge steps down as general manager. Brad Stevens has been now promoted from head coach to general manager, and rumors are already is Turner, one of the assistant coaches, is up for the top candidacy spot for the Boston Celtics coach. Where do the Celtics go from here?
I think it's a good change. Not that Brad Stevens was a terrible coach, but they really hadn't gone anywhere since Stevens made the conference finals with really just a bunch of guys, and they didn't really go up from that at all. And then Danny Ainge kind of for years was speculating that he was going to finally pull the trigger on a huge trade, and it just never happened, kept getting more young assets and picks and now everything like that. And here we are. The Boston Celtics are going to be fine going forward. But this head coach really matters. The decision really matters here, as well as how you decide to build around Tatum and Brown, as those are two of the brightest young stars in the league.
All right, finally, just my point on this with the Celtics before we move on to the NFL. My only point on the Celtics is the fact that what is their image? I don't know what their image is. Are they, a tough defensive team that relies on three-point shooting? Are they just completely going to outshoot you every day of the game? I don't think Kemba Walker fits in Boston anymore, though they expected him to fit in Boston. Jason Tatum was the only one that really showed up in this series. Jaylen Brown played okay, but he didn't play like Jaylen Brown, who was in the regular season, who was in the conversation of being an all-star candidate. Like, it just did not feel right for the Boston Celtics. You bring up a great point. They haven't done much since 17, going to that conference final, 7 games with the Cleveland Cavaliers, with LeBron James, and ever since then, they've just been inconsistent, no true identity. They could have gotten Anthony Davis. They could have gotten Zion Williamson. They could have had a litany of things, and they didn't do any of that. All right, let's move on to the NFL here. We got to talk about Julio Jones.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
Sanders still on his feet. Sanders is gone. Barr with daylight and time goes for the whole thing. Touchdown. Green Bay leads. Brett Favre.
Rice, he's open. No flags are down. Touchdown.
And here's a sack. Lawrence Taylor comes over the top.
Leon left. No.
DeLone fires to an open Smith. Steve Smith is going to go all the way. No flags down. Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
6 seconds. Murray heaves it downfield. It's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins. He did what?
He did what?
He did what?
He did what?
He did a lot.
You know who did do a lot was Julio Jones on Undisputed, saying, I'm going to get the hell out of Atlanta, man. I'm going to get out of here. And it worked. Julio Jones has now been traded to the Tennessee Titans along with a 6th-round draft pick to the Tennessee Titans, as I already said that, for a 2nd-round draft pick and a 4th-round draft pick to go to Atlanta. Jacob, let's break this down real quick. Let's move on here with the NFL segment. But you heard the news. What was your first reaction to Julio Jones now going to be in Tennessee wearing the Tennessee Titan uniform?
My hopes were correct. I was telling Devin once again that I wanted to see him in Tennessee, and I think that'd be a really good fit. And he was saying, oh, man, they got to be in Seattle, of course. But anyway, Tennessee, I think it would be the best balanced attack, and I think it would be Julio's number one choice, actually, because not only does he have his number one fan in A.J. Brown alongside him, he has the best running back in football currently, and yes, I know Christian McCaffrey exists. Derrick Henry is the best running back in football when it matters the most in the big-time games in 4th and 1. That's just who he is. We all know who he is, and the fact that you can no longer put 8 in the box, that you might need to only go 6 in the box because you have two of the best deep ball threats in the entire National Football League on either side, it's going to be great to see. I think Tannehill is going to flourish once again. Julio Jones, for the longest time, has been in double coverage in pretty much every game he's played in Atlanta, and now finally, if they try to double cover him, you know what's going to happen. I mean, there's going to be guys wide open down the field.
And think about what you just said there, that he's been double teamed his whole entire career, and Julio Jones has more 200-plus yard games than the entire NFL combined. The entire NFL, besides Julio Jones, has 18 200-yard games by a receiver. Julio Jones has 3 on his own.
Wow.
I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
Continue.
I mean, you said it, my man. So it's time for Tennessee to win now, and I think it's gonna be great for their city to have some competitive football back in there, and we'll see if they give the Bills or the Chiefs a run for their money. As for Atlanta, this is good news for me. We can maybe just go over to my calendar when we play them and mark this as a W, but you know how it is. Division games, you actually can't expect that at all. It's probably going to be a 1-1 split for all we know, but it was tough going against Julio for all those years, man. It was tough. I'm glad we don't have to face him anymore, but I think it's time for Atlanta to rebuild with this. I don't know what you do with your quarterback, Matty Ice, but I think the team needs to rebuild.
So from Atlanta, you just drafted one generational tight end and traded your generational receiver away for...
They didn't even test it out together.
They didn't even test that out. You know how exciting that would have been to watch with Matt Ryan throwing the ball to Kyle Pitts?
That would have been a great offense if they had a good running back.
That would have been an amazing offense to watch every single weekend. But now... Julio Jones is now with the Tennessee Titans, and this just makes the Tennessee Titans even more scary. You got the Indianapolis Colts, you already got the Buffalo Bills, you already got the Baltimore Ravens, you already got the Kansas City Chiefs as the top 4 teams, including the Cleveland Browns. Those are your top 5 teams right now in the AFC. Now you throw in the Tennessee Titans. That's your 6 teams already in the playoffs. Those are already 6 teams right there. Like, you already got 3 divisional winners, and you already got 2 wildcard teams. Call it a day, but point is, this makes them really scary and dangerous. Ryan Tannehill had himself a good year. He's had a bounce back, couple back seasons over in Tennessee. He has proven that he is deserving of a contract extension. Derrick Henry is staying in Tennessee. A.J. Brown is a very capable receiver on the other edge. Julio Jones, there's no more to say about Julio Jones. Yes, he's in the later days of his career, but that dude can still go
He's still top 10.
He is still top 10, top 5 receiver in the league, period, end of story. So it's going to be exciting to see what the Tennessee Titans do. 6 teams already vying for a spot in the AFC. 5 of those teams are going to try to take down the Chiefs. And you know what? The AFC looks a lot more fun than the NFC right now, and I cannot wait until the NFL season. I cannot wait. I'm glued to my TV watching Tennessee Titans games. All right, Jacob. Speaking of Super Bowl, speaking of teams that we know have a chance. We already know. Book them already to the Super Bowl. But is there a team out there that you think has a real shot at upsetting somebody in the playoffs?
I don't know if in this current NFL, any of these teams I'm about to list could actually knock off the Chiefs or the Bucks. But it's always fun to talk about teams like this and maybe teams that are on the rise, maybe have next in a couple of years. I think in the NBA, it's kind of you can foresee who's going to be good in a couple of years. In the NFL, it's all over the place, man. You never know, and that's what makes these so hard to predict. So here are my 4 teams. Number 1 is the Cardinals. This really shouldn't be a huge surprise. Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and now you have J.J. Watt. Probably not in his prime anymore at all, but he can still be that leader that probably that locker room needs and maybe needed last year. But going forward, I think the Cardinals could be that shocker team. You never know what's going to happen with that offense and those 2 star players. Next up, I actually have my Panthers written down on this list. I can't go that long talking NFL without bringing up my Panthers.
Bias.
The only reason I'm talking about them is because I feel like we are improving at quarterback with Sam Darnold over Teddy Bridgewater. But here's the main thing. We won 7-ish games last year with basically McCaffrey out the whole year. If he
and Teddy Bridgewater doing his best to run around that offensive line.
And like a rookie, basically an all youngster defense.
Seriously.
And that defense is going to get better and better. I was on my phone the other day watching some Jeremy Chin highlights and some Brian Burns highlights, and I am pumped to see some fumbles and interceptions next year from my Panthers.
Listen, not to cut you off, but I remember the speculation you had about Matt Rule getting hired as your head coach.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
You were like, I don't know about this one, but so far so good, man. The gamble has paid off.
The offense is already good, and they're improving the defense. We'll have to see what happens here. I think they're going to go at least 500 this year. I think I'm a little confident in that.
Well, you can't go 500 anymore in the NFL. You either can
go 9-8, a little over.
All right, 9-8. All right.
Next up is the Patriots, and here's why. They had no help last year. It was just Cam. And I don't blame y'all. Cam looked terrible.
Awful.
But if he has any sort of help around him at all, especially on the defensive end, who knows? I mean, just who knows what can happen with Bill Belichick.
True.
Cam Newton, if he somehow looks like 2015 Cam Newton in some games that matter the most, with some help, I have to have them on this list. And then last, I actually have the Indianapolis Colts. Just because of the Carson Wentz trade, I'm going to say that routinely they've been one of those teams that has been rumored in quarterback trades just because they've always had a pretty solid team, but never a great quarterback since Andrew Luck retired. So I think Carson Wentz, if he can somehow turn his career around and that offense just sparks and everything goes right and Jonathan Taylor's a freaking beast, maybe they're a dark horse team as well.
All right, I only got one dark horse team on this list, but if I had to list a couple other teams after that, I would have taken your New England Patriots, I would have taken the Carolina Panthers, and I would have been biased on my own team as well, being that I'm biased. I would have taken the Chicago Bears as well because I'm hearing great things about Justin Fields out of the OTAs, and I'm being biased.
Oh, you were skeptical. I was like, why are you being skeptical? He looks great.
So my real dark horse team is the New York Giants. And I'll tell you why the New York Giants. Yeah, I already see the look on your face.
What?
So, yes, I am trying to trust Daniel Jones, a.k.a. probably Mitchell Trubisky 2.0 right now, okay? But Mitchell Trubisky is a better runner, but Mitchell Trubisky would trip himself over just like Daniel Jones did on the 5-yard line before crossing.
I cannot believe you picked a team from the NFC least.
Okay, so here's the reason why. Number one reason is because of their defense. They were top 10 defense in total defense last year. They were top 10 in rush defense, but they were top 16 in passing defense. They got to get the defense a little fixed up in their passing coverage. They're going to start working on that. They will figure it out, okay? I trust some Joe Judge, some wide receiver, punt return, head coach from the New England Patriots, all of a sudden becomes a great head football coach. Who didn't see that coming from the Bill Belichick tree branch? Also, they got Saquon Barkley coming back next year, who is one of the top 5 best running backs in the game when healthy. Saquon Barkley is that dude. You give him a running lane, he is gone like lightning, okay? They're fixing their offensive line. They got Kenny Galloway as well. That's my reason number 3. He is a true possession receiver. He's not going to burn you. He's not, he's not a speedster. He's just a possession guy. He is Julio Jones, a smaller version of Julio Jones. He will get the catches. He will get the yards. He will put the offense in the right position to go down the field. I'm taking the New York Giants as a dark horse Super Bowl contender. I think it's the right team to do it, dude. I think in the fact that the NFC East is open, you got the Redskins, you got the Cowboys, and you got the Giants fighting for that title division. We know the Eagles are out because they're trying to tank, and they're going to ruin Jalen Hurts, and they're going to try to trade Jalen Hurts off and then try to draft somebody else new. So the Eagles are already gone. Okay, the Redskins are trying to rely on Ryan Fitzpatrick, and the Dallas Cowboys are coming back with Dak Prescott, who basically and literally broke his own ankle on the football field. So it makes sense that the New York Giants are the one team out of the NFC least that might make a real run for the Super Bowl title.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
anyway.
Here's what I'll say on that. Obviously, it's a stretch, but I appreciate the stretch. Very entertaining. Saquon has had some of the best runs we've seen in a while. Their defense, I believe their defense was probably better than it looked. And if Daniel Jones could ever just decide to hold on to the ball, that defense might actually be like legit top 10, top 5, just because of how many times he's turning it over.
Just don't make the silly mistakes. Just stay away from the silly mistakes. That's all you got to do. All right, let's talk about other sports here, and then we got to get to the rant because this one's going to be juicy.
20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500.
And the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores.
There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up.
With Canerco up, and he rips one in the left. Canerco, grand slam.
Other sports here on the Coin Flip Podcast. Let's start with the NHL playoffs here. Jacob, the NHL playoffs, the Montreal Canadiens are now leading the Winnipeg Jets 3-0 with Game 4 tonight, as it could be the series sweep. Let me give you just a picture of the Montreal Canadiens. They were down 3-1 to the Toronto Maple Leafs in round 1 and have won every single game they have played since being down 3-1.
Wow.
5 straight wins in playoff games. That is a remarkable credit to be right there. They have a 3-0 series lead. The Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche, they were playing off last night. It was a 5-1 win for the Vegas Golden Knights as Jonathan Marchessault got himself a hat trick last night, which basically means he got 3 goals in one game. Hat trick all
I heard
the
a
way
little bit
around.
about this series, Martin. I heard Andy went to the game the other night where they were down 2-1, a couple minutes left. Then there was a goal off the back of the goalie's leg.
Yes.
Correct? And then there was another goal
Yes.
with 44 seconds left in play.
Yep, they've stunned the
Nice.
Colorado Avalanche. They now tie that series at 2-2. Over to Tampa Bay and Carolina. Jacob's not looking good for the Carolina Hurricanes. They're down 3-1. They blew a 4-2 lead in Game 4, my man. 4-2 lead, and they lost 6-4. A final right there. Yeah, not looking good against the defending Stanley Cup champions. Tampa Bay leads that series 3-1. And then over to Boston and New York Islanders. That brute strength, just downright nasty series is tied at 2-2 between both the Bruins and the Islanders. On to the MLB. Almost halfway, dude. All-Star break is right around the corner. Cannot wait until the All-Star break. It's so much fun to watch the All-Star break, the home run derby, the contest itself. It is a speculation that I want to go see one day, and one day I will do that. But nonetheless,
I saw a crazy highlight in the MLB.
go ahead.
The second baseman for the Angels, it didn't even say his name, but it was a grounder coming his way. The runner had a really good shot at getting first, and he grabbed it with his glove and then just flicked it over. didn't even scoop it out of the glove with his hand. Just straight grabbed it with the glove and flicked it. I don't know why we don't see that more often now that I think about it. But that was a great play by the Angels second baseman.
Those plays are out there, my man. You just got to watch more MLB highlights. I told you, brother. You get into the NHL and the MLB, you're going to appreciate sports more often. I'm telling you. Anyway, your AL leaders in the AL East is the Tampa Bay Rays, who are leading by 1 game over the Boston Red Sox. In the AL Central, it is my Chicago White Sox leading it by 4 games over the Cleveland Indians. In the AL West, it is James, a.k.a. Guarantee, over here with the Oakland Athletics leading it by 1 game over the Houston Astros, or also known as the Houston Cheaters. In the NL West, it's the San Francisco Giants leading 4 games over the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers. In the Central, it's the Milwaukee Brewers and the Chicago Cubs tied in that race, and then it's the New York Mets, the little baby brother to the New York Yankees, who are leading their own division by 4 games. That is your MLB leaders. I apologize. I'm trying to grab my breath here. On to NASCAR real quick. Sonoma Raceway. It is a road course out in wine country in California. Kyle Larson picks up his 3rd win. His first back-to-back wins in his career. He won at the Coca-Cola 600, which was Charlotte 2 weeks ago. And then he wins on the Sonoma Raceway weekend. So that's back-to-back for him. Congratulations to Kyle Larson. And that's win 270 for Hendrick Motorsports. This weekend, they're at the All-Star race in Texas. I do not know who's going to win this race because they have not announced the All-Star lineup yet. But when I have that, we'll talk about that and we'll give you the results on that. But Jacob, I got to give you the rest of the time, bro. We got 7 minutes left in the podcast show before we got to go home. 7 minutes for you to rant about the Los Angeles Lakers.
It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
The one, the only, the rant.
Oh, you're about to go blasphemous.
Fighting a scorpion and that is final.
Will you two shut up?
Oh my God, I don't care.
You will when we're done talking about the rant. Here on the Coin Flip with Martin Kelly
and Jacob Zimmerman.
I think Martin just compared the Lakers losing in the first round after they won the title to when the Clippers blew the 3-win lead. Anyways, I'm ranting about the Lakers. You probably saw this coming. Martin, I have 3 words written down on my sheet of paper in preparation for this. It says, LeBron deserves help. That's all I have written down. LeBron deserves help.
I wish I knew Charles Barkley. What was that
Huh?
that he made where he said, like, he wants all the best damn players?
He wants all the best damn players. Anyway, LeBron has wanted some players throughout his career, but there's a lot to talk about here. First up, I don't know why people are acting like the Lakers weren't injured. People are saying the Lakers choked in the first round. The Lakers did not choke in the first round. A couple of the players did not play well, but let's not act like that was the reason why they lost. The 2020 Lakers would have taken care of the Phoenix Suns in about 6 games, just like the Miami Heat. Let's face it, what happened? Anthony Davis was not at 100% or even close. Most of these games, he was probably at 50%. And LeBron was probably at best this series at 75%. He was not that healthy. I could see it when he just wasn't attacking. Even in the pivotal moments of the game, he just was not attacking at the rim. I don't think that's age. I think that is just his injuries. So that's for one. The Lakers, I think, kind of have a bit of a good pass for this year. I don't think you can really hold LeBron to that. Next thing, this is LeBron's first loss in the first round. Before this, he was 14-0. I have something to ask for Michael Jordan fans. Is this season better than 2018? Was this season better than 2017? How about 2015? How about 2014? How about 2011 and 2007 when he made the finals and lost? This is what a worse year looks like, Martin. Those playoff runs matter. All right, that's the second thing out of the way. So even when LeBron is losing, we're still exposing. The third thing, going forward, the last thing. I just pulled up the Lakers roster. Kyle Kuzma, you can go. Markieff Morris, you can go. Wesley Matthews, you can go. Marc Gasol, bye. Alfonso McKinney. Andre Drummond.
Yes.
Bye. Ben McLemore. Bye. Jared Dudley. You see where I'm going. LeBron. Anthony Davis. Alex Caruso. Taylor Horton Tucker. KCP. You're welcome back. We would love to see you back.
Wait.
We would love to see you. What? All right, turn it on.
KCP?
KCP played very well in the 2020 finals. I will say that. Dennis Schroeder, I'm not even sure about because he didn't shoot great at all at any point in this season from 3. And in the playoffs, if he goes 0 for 9, that's the worst Laker performance in the playoffs in the history of the Lakers, Martin. You know how long the Lakers have been in the playoffs? Forever. With all that being said, these pieces looked great at the beginning of the year. At some moments they were. They started out the year at the top of the West. Let's not forget that at all before the injuries came crashing down on this team. But overall, LeBron still proves his excellence, and they need to go out and help this man. He deserves more help. Rob Pelinka, get to work. That's my rant.
To wrap up the show here, appreciate everybody listening. Jacob, we got to get this out of here. We got to get this news out of here, right now. Getting you on recording at this very moment. Is the Instagram page ready?
The Instagram page is ready. I'm pulling it up right now. It is ready, Martin.
So go to what is the tag name? At what?
The Coin Flip Podcast. We got the name, man.
At the Coin Flip Podcast. Go follow us on Instagram. We're going to be posting some photos and some 1-minute clip videos of this podcast tomorrow as soon as we podcast it. So we'll collaborate tomorrow and get that all out to you as well on YouTube. But over to your Laker rant real quick to break it down. Number 1, do not mention LeBron James and Michael Jordan in the same conversation when it comes to the first round. Whatever.
Oh.
LeBron James and Michael Jordan in the first round were different. And you know this was different. Michael Jordan in the first round was only a higher seed when he was young. Before the 90s was only a 3 seed. So every other time he was a lower seed and he had really no shot.
Why didn't they finish higher in the regular season?
You know what? It's one man show. They didn't get it done. Number 2, over to your point about Anthony Davis. This is my only point on this, Jacob. Anthony Davis is not the franchise player for the Lakers. They need to go out and get already a set franchise player to put on the...
Who are you going to trade AD for? Porzingis?
I would trade AD right here, right now for Damian Lillard and Josip Nurkic, who are more consistent. And right now, I would say, even though Nurkic is not a better player than AD...
You know both sides have to agree, right?
Yeah, I do know they have to agree. AD would never go to Portland after already signing the contract extension, but... The point you already brought up is that LeBron James needs more help, but where do you go get it? If it's already on your roster at this very moment, you thought AD was the missing piece, the last piece to the puzzle to win a championship, consistent championships in Los Angeles, and it has proven that maybe we bit off more than we can chew, and we don't have a true bench, and we don't have a true starting 5 on the floor, and we have questions about our own coaching staff, where we already have 3 head coaches on this coaching staff, including Vogel himself. Where's the help really going to come, dude?
All I know is there's one hell of a team in Brooklyn, and they're all in their prime, and they have all the help in the world over there.
But why didn't Pelinka pull off a trade like that? Why didn't he? Why aren't the Lakers lining up this offseason to go get Chris Paul?
I don't.
Or
here's what we should do: package. Let's put in a trade package. Whatever pick we can throw in: Talen Horton-Tucker, Kyle Kuzma, and maybe something else too, and we get Kyle Lowry.
You want Kyle Lowry?
Yeah.
That's it? Yeah. No Siakam, no OG Anunoby. You just want Lowry. You just want the 36-year-old point guard.
We trade Schroeder for Lowry and picks and Kuzma and maybe THT. We do the trade that we held back from this year. We go get Kyle Lowry.
You guys got a lot of issues.
Because Lowry can shoot.
You guys got a lot of issues. Anyway, that's the Coin Flip Podcast. Appreciate everybody listening. We got to go. Have yourself a good one. Peace.